Welcome to this lesson on composition of functions. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to simplify a composition of a function. Let's dive right into the steps on how to do that. Well, a composition is like a sandwich. You're going to put one function inside the other function. So here are the steps, and this is written on a poster, so find the poster in Canvas. You can see the composition is like a sandwich. You put one function inside the other function. Now this might sound weird, but I'm just giving you the steps so we can put it to a poster when we put it to an actual example. Step 1, write the outside equation. Leave spaces where the x's are written. Replace the x spaces with the inside equation and then simplify. Okay, this will make more sense, but one more slide of background info. So a composition, you might see this fog, parentheses x, where it's f, little circle, g, and then an x in parentheses, or you might see it as this f with parentheses g of x. Either way, it is read as f of g of x. Okay, so if you ever see it written like this, and you don't like that, replace it with f comes first, then parentheses, g of x. So if you remember in our steps, we talked about an outside equation versus an inside equation. Well, you can imagine that it's just as it sounds. The g is inside the big parentheses. So g of x would be considered the inside equation. And f, well, f is on the outside of the big parentheses, so f would be considered the outside equation. Let's dive right into our first example. We have f of x is 2x minus 3, and g of x equals x squared. Find f of g of x. Well, again, we have g of x is my inside equation, and f of x, well, just f is my outside equation. So hopefully you have your poster handy, but if not, I'll reference this real quick. Step 1 is to write the outside equation and leave space where the x's are written. So my outside equation is f of x. So I see one x right here. I'm going to rewrite f of x, but I'm not going to put in that x there. I'm going to leave a space. So I'm going to write 2, and I'm going to leave a space where the x was. So I have 2, left a space, minus 3. My next step is to replace the x spaces with the inside equation. So I'm going to replace my space with the inside equation, which we established was g of x. That's just x squared. And my last step is just to simplify. Actually, I'll change colors here to make this more obvious. We'll go with blue. So last step, simplify. So I go through, I don't really need these parentheses here. I can distribute that 2 and rewrite this as 2x squared minus 3. So f of g of x equals 2x squared minus 3. Let's see that again. Okay, we've got two different functions. F of x equals 3x minus 4, and g of x equals the square root of x plus 2. Now it's written that fog way. F with a little OG of x. Well, this still says f of g of x. Well, I'm just going to translate this to say f comes first. I'm going to put parentheses g of x. So I like to translate it from fog into this format so then I can pick out my inside equation and my outside equation. So g is my inside equation, f is going to be my outside equation. So step 1 says to write the outside equation and leave space where the x is written. So I'm not going to write anything where the x is. I'm just going to put parentheses, leave a space. So we have, I'm going to write 3, not going to write that x, leave a space, minus 4. That's step 1. Step 2 says we have to replace the parentheses with the inside equation. Inside equation is square root of x plus 2. So I'm going to go into where the parentheses are, and I'm going to put the square root of x plus 2 in parentheses. So I'm putting g of x inside the f of x function. All I'm doing is I'm replacing the whole g with any x's in the f of x. The last step says we have to simplify. So that's what I'm going to do. I see a 3 and I see parentheses. Well, I can easily distribute that. So we have 3 times the square root of x, and 3 times 2 is plus 6 minus 4. And I can combine these like terms, 6 minus 4, so that my final answer would be 3 square root of x plus 2. Let's try one more. Okay, now we want g of f of x. It's a little different now, but let's establish f of x is my inside equation, and g of x is my outside. So step 1 says I need to write the outside equation first. Well, I'm going to write the square root. I'm going to put parentheses inside here. There's my space. I've got plus 2 on the outside. So I write the outside equation first, and I leave space to plug in the inside equation. Now I take the inside equation of 3x minus 4, and I put it inside my parentheses. And my last step is to simplify. Well, because this 3x minus 4 is all underneath the radical, I can't add it together with that 2. So there is really no simplifying other than we don't need those parentheses. So we have 3x minus 4 plus 2. So g of f of x equals the square root of 3x minus 4 plus 2. What if we're given an example that has a number inside of it? Now, the steps are a little different. Now we just need to separate it and deal with one problem at a time. It makes your life a lot easier. If you look, we're going to work our way from the inside to the outside. So g of 2. Well, we've done this before. G of 2, that means I just plug the 2 in for x. So we have 2 times 2 squared plus 1. Okay, well, g of 2 is going to equal 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay, well, let's replace that. Let's find f of g of 2. That looks confusing, but I know g of 2 is equivalent to 9, so I can plug 9 back in. So I'm going to try to find f of 9. Oh, that's simple. That means I just plug the 9 in for the x's in my f of x. So we have 4 instead of x. I'm going to plug in 9 plus 2. So f of 9 equals 36 plus 2, 38. So f of g of 2, after all that, is equal to 38. So when you're trying to do a composition of functions and you get a number, your answer should be one solid number. Let me show you one more. Okay, g of f of 2. Again, we work our way from the inside to the outside. So let's start by finding f of 2. That just means I got to plug in 2 for x. So we have 3 times 2 plus 1. F of 2 equals 6 plus 1, 7. So now that I have it down to a solid number, I'm going to replace that 7 in for g. I'm going to find g of 7. Well, g of x is x to the third power. That means I got to do 7 to the third power. So g of 7 equals 343. So g of f of 2 equals